Well, good morning. Everyone's awake, great. We want to first thank Marlowe and Company for providing some special music this morning, and they joined us, and we're grateful for that. And I'm Greg Easton, our Vice President for Institute Advancement, and it's a pleasure to be with you. Many of you I've seen all weekend, some just for the first time, but it's a great enjoying several meals with you. So one thing we do is we do enjoy our meals, so I want to. But what I like to do is we have a wonderful program planned for you this morning, and we have a very special guest from our class of 2019, Lauren Parker. And you're going to see the power of philanthropy through what she's going to say, because you as donors and citizens of this community are really making a difference in the lives of our students. So please join me with a warm welcome for Lauren Parker as she joins our stage. Thank you.
To the members of the Patroon Society of Rensselaer, who have provided their support and generosity to countless Rensselaer students, including myself, I would like to welcome you and thank you for providing me with this opportunity to tell you all a little about my experience so far at RPI. My name is Lauren Parker, and I'm a junior chemical engineering student. I am also the vice president of campus initiatives in the Red and White Student Organization, a high jumper on the varsity track and field team, a women's mentor, and an undergraduate researcher with Kramer Labs at RPI. And also a Trekkie. So basically, I'm really busy, as is typical of every student here. Growing up, I was always encouraged by my parents and teachers to be inquisitive and explorative and to take advantage of every opportunity granted to me. Having such a strong support system gave me the motivation I needed to be actively involved. It also encouraged me to venture out of my comfort zone and seek higher education somewhere where I could be challenged and experience different kinds of people with interesting views on the world. I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is a city filled with such rich history. Even when faced with tragedy, we New Orleanians maintain our signature phrase of laissez le bon temps rouler, or let the good times roll. People from New Orleans are resilient and passionate about our city, and love to boast about our food and music and invite as many people as we can to enjoy the vibrant culture that exists there. Leaving my city to come to school here was a bittersweet experience. I was afraid that I was abandoning the only place where I could have a strong community of people to trust and rely on. Ultimately, I discovered that coming here was the best decision I could have made. During my first few days on campus, I was roped into Red and White by way of the NRB Week Traditions Tour, where I got to see the Model Railroad Society, get a private tour of the field house, and most notably, I got to visit the archives in Folsom Library. That day trip showed me that RPI has an abundant history filled with passionate students and bizarre traditions that I desperately wanted to learn more about. So I joined Red and White. For 2 years, I was the executive director of the Traditions Committee. So I got the most in-depth understanding that a student can probably get of the history and traditions of this institute. And it's really crazy what students used to get away with. There used to be this event called Flag Rush that only lasted about 30 years because it got so out of hand. Basically, the freshman class had to hide the flag from the sophomore class for 23 hours, and if the sophomores never found it, then the freshmen won. Sounds simple and innocent enough, right? Well, nothing's ever so simple and innocent for RPI students. The flag was placed on top of the main building in 1883, causing what the local newspaper described as a bloody battle. Another year, it was given to a young girl during a performance at the Opera House. The fate of that girl remains a mystery. And a new rule was added in 1904 because the sophomore class built a tugboat and rowed it down the Hudson with a flag aboard and sprayed the freshmen with a hose to keep them from retrieving it. Anyone who attended RPI in the 1950s probably knows about Grease Rush, but don't worry, your secret's safe with me. Learning about the incredible people who have attended this school and the crazy things that students used to do for fun started to generate within me a passion for RPI. This passion wasn't solely developed from discovering historical facts. It was also brought on by the culture that exists at RPI, a culture of encouragement and support, a culture of students passionate about their school and passionate about one day changing the world. I was nervous that there would be extreme competition between classmates and cutthroat tactics to get ahead, but I quickly learned that the exact opposite exists here. One of the many reasons that I believe people at RPI are so supportive is that there are so many opportunities for students. One of the greatest opportunities available to students is the undergraduate research program. I obtained my research position in Dr. Stephen Kramer's lab through the recommendation of one of my teammates. I have my own project related to multimodal chromatography investigating monoclonal antibody domain contributions, and I plan to display my findings at the undergraduate research symposium in the spring. There'll be a prize to anyone who can remember exactly what my research is after this. Not only is working in lab fun, but it also teaches me a lot more than I learned in the classroom in a lot of ways, and will make me a more desirable choice for employers who want someone with skills and experience rather than a 4.0 GPA and no extracurriculars or training. People here go out of their way to make sure we can succeed. It is this culture of collaboration that has made this campus my new home, and has made me want to tell as many people as I can to enjoy it, because I'm so proud to attend RPI. There's such an immense spirit of sharing and collaboration so that everyone can meet their highest potential. This support is maintained even after graduation by all of our wonderful donors who help students reach their full potential through their generous donations. I'm honored to be the recipient of the Sean O'Sullivan 85 Scholarship, which has aided me in all my ventures at RPI. Mr. Sullivan is not only changing the world, but also helping Rensselaer students change the world by giving back. At times with my academic coursework, campus involvement, athletic commitments, and extremely necessary breaks to catch up on the newest season of Star Trek Discovery, things can start to feel overwhelming. In those times, knowing someone believes in me enough to partially fund my endeavors, and that the community of RPI supports me in everything I am doing, keeps me going, and gives me the motivation to study a few more hours for my chemical reactor design exam, or hold a meeting to plan for a photo scavenger hunt on campus, or win a high jump state championship, or just finally sit down and watch the pilot episode of Star Trek Discovery, which I can't imagine will ever live up to the next generation. On that same note, I'd like to leave you all with the wise words of Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Every choice we make allows us to manipulate the future. The choice to attend RPI is my first step in changing the world. I'm excited to see how the already superb RPI community and culture will develop over the next few years as a result of the Capital campaign, and see how even more students will be given the opportunity to be transformative. Thank you.
It's my great pleasure right now to invite up Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson to spend a few moments with us and share what's happening. Thank you. Our script was out of order, so I apologize.
Good morning. You know, Greg was afraid he'd lost my space, but I'm not worried about it. Because actually, I just want to talk to you straightforward. I want each of you just to look around or look along the tables at which you sit. And what you see is an intergenerational representation of what Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute is all about. And it is what universities in the end are about, meaning to bring together generations for teaching and learning and to launch the next, as we call them, nestlings, I hope they don't mind my saying that, into the world. And, you know, there are lessons at each table, and I'm sure you are picking them up as you talk with the people at your table. I think our own young people learn what it means to have successful lives. Successful lives don't just require successful careers, but it's the whole experience. And you represent, those of you who are our patroons, that whole experience, meaning that you have successful lives because you have helped our young people here to put a Rensselaer education fully within the reach of all. And that is what lives out, actually, Stephen Van Rensselaer's vision for Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Now, what Lauren didn't tell you is that just a few years before she actually came here to Rensselaer, her family had to evacuate from New Orleans, and they were away from there for a while because of the flooding caused by Hurricane Katrina. She's taught me some things just in hearing her story about perseverance. Marek's family came to this country from Slovakia. He asked me, had I been to the real Slovakia, and I told him I had, both before and after the Czechoslovakia became the Czech Republic and Slovakia. And Marek is here studying electrical engineering, and he is representative of the kind of student that we attract and educate and wish to. And then there's Deepika, who actually grew up in India, came here for a master's and then decided to come back to get a PhD, and she's in the research group of our own Vice President for Research, John Dordick. And so you see that intergenerational connection among the students and between the students and the faculty. And so in the end, nothing illustrates what transformative the campaign for global change really means. Supporting these young people so that they can come and get the education we offer. They teach each other. And then they go out into the world and do great things, and they want to follow in your footsteps. But they have to be taught by the very best faculty that we must be able to attract and retain. And you see that with faculty you meet here and have met, we hope, over the weekend. But we're bursting at the seams, and so we have to grow our campus a bit, but we also have to ensure that we stay at the leading edge in how we teach, in the research that we do, and being able to have our students as partners in everything we do. And so that, in the end, is the simple message of transformative, the campaign for Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And I know that all of you are here because you are patroons, named for the great patroon who founded this institution. Annual patroons, those who have given gifts in honor of your reunion, and of course, lifetime society patroons. And so we're so grateful that you do that you give, and we're so grateful that you're here this morning. Thank you very much.
All right. What we'd like to do today, and is a tradition that we're bringing back, is to make sure that we're recognizing all of our donors that have moved between categories or have come into our societies. And let me review our societies: the Benjamin Franklin Green Society, the Palmer Ricketts Society, the Amos Eaton Society, the Livingston W. Houston Class of 13 Society, and the George M. Lowe Class of 48 Society. There are simply too many of you to bring up this morning, so we're going to ask you, as I call your name this morning, through the different societies, that you stand up and we'll recognize you as a community. And then my staff is available at the end here to make sure that each of you receive your new certificates. So we're really pleased. At this time, I'd like to recognize all of those that are involved with, there we go, our Benjamin Franklin Green Society. And these are guests. If you could please stand up. All right. It is Martha Corrales, class of 1980, and Stephen G. Corrales, class of 1977. If you'd please stand. Well, hold your, and let's remain standing. We'll do it all together. Okay, Jacqueline Colloquy and Bruce Colloquy, class of 1957. Please stand. Oh. All right, well, thank you. Molly and Craig Cook, please stand. Richie and Bruce Hunter, please stand. Vera Dordick and Jonathan Dordick, please stand. Barry Eberman, please stand, class of 1972. Karen Allen Lynch, class of 1987. Karen McElroy and Lee McElroy, please stand. Joyce Sandow and Robert Sandow, class of 1987, please stand. Linda Shadler and Thomas Feist, please stand. Patricia Sproul and Duncan Sproul, class of 1977, please stand. Marjorie Winter and John Winter, class of 1952, please stand. And Jonathan Waxler, please stand. Please join me in saluting these. All right. I'd now like to recognize, you may be seated, the Palmer Ricketts Society. These are individuals. We have Peter Bagall, class of 1983, Terrence Barton, class of 1992, James Booney, class of 1976, Patricia DeLury, class of 1985, Mary Kolb and John Kolb, class of 1979, Rajini Malivia, class of 1978, and Bimal, Olivia, class as well, George Mascaris, and Spiro James Mascaris, class of 1979, Michael Miner and Jeffrey Miner, class of 1978, Kathleen Niger and Charles Niger, class of 1952, Jean and Claude Rounds, Renee and Curtis Powell, Donna Wayner, class of 1979, and Peter Wayner, class of 1956. Please join me in saluting them. All right, on to the Amos Eaton Society. Patricia Bellardo and Louis Bellardo, class of 1967. Stephanie Ballman and Richard Ballum, class of 1966. Ms. Virginia Gregg. Nancy Feltham and Edward Feltham, class of 1962. Carmela Fresca and Peter Fresca, class of 1967. Marianne McLaughlin and Paul McLaughlin, class of 1967. Okay, I'd like to now recognize the Livingston Houston Class of 13 Society. And let's see. Alan Ginsberg, Class of 1962. Bobby, would you please join him, Bobby? Thank you so much, Bobby. Okay, Irene Silver and Arnold Silver, Class of 1952. Please stand up. Okay. I'd like to now recognize the George Lowell Society. If I can, I don't see the Aldens this morning, but Janet Alden and John Alden, that class of 1958, and Joan Collar and Glenn O'Brien, class of 1954. All right, and I'd like to have Dr. Jackson please join me for the Stephen Van Rensselaer Society.
I always get the pleasure of honoring the members of the Stephen Van Rensselaer Society. And the members of that society are those whose lifetime giving is $1 million or more. And then to present you with certificates expressing our gratitude, and I will call each of you forward. James E. Alden of the class of 1958. Is James Alden with us this morning? They can't. Okay. Teresa and Mark Little, I don't know if they're here this morning, but I know who is here this morning, Nancy and Robert J. Lyons. Thank you very much. Very nice. And finally, I have the distinct honor of recognizing members of the 1824 Society of Stephen Van Rensselaer Patroons, members whose lifetime giving is $10 million or more. And so first, may I ask Kathy and Paul Severino to join me at the podium. And as you may know, Paul and Kathy, in fact, are the co-chairs of Transformative Campaign for Global Change.
doing a photo op. Thank you.
And now may I ask Cindy and Curtis Prim to please join me here on the podium.
Dr. Morris Washington, could you please join us on the stage? Excuse me for being a little hoarse this morning. We were at the Black Student Alliance 50th anniversary party last night, and it was very loud and wild. And they played some really good music as well. This is an absolute honor that I was chosen to do the following. Especially at the end to finish up a wonderful week of philanthropy and celebrating education. For more than 18 years, President Jackson and Dr. Morris Washington have served the Institute and transformed Rensselaer. Throughout these years, they also have been generous philanthropists. I would like to welcome you both in the Stephen Van Rensselaer Society and thank you for all you have done and will continue to do to lead a transformative Rensselaer into the 3rd century.
Okay, great.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this morning together, and we hope as the morning finishes up that you take time to meet with our students and faculty and really take an opportunity to further see the depth of the Rensselaer community. It's a great pleasure to thank all of you for joining us this weekend. I know you've gone through several opportunities and you've had an opportunity to actually, some of you see the passport to the Institute, but there's some wonderful things happening and we greatly appreciate all that you've done for this Institute and we look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you.